Let's transition back to the NFL and let's talk about Tee Higgins as Duke Tobin has some interesting comments on the Bengals not being interested in trading Tee Higgins. Take a listen.
I'm in the business of making the Cincinnati Bengals better, and so trading Tee Higgins is not on my mind. That's their problem. They want a receiver. Go find your own. In my opinion, Tee Higgins is a good piece for the Cincinnati Bengals. So the trade stuff is a little ridiculous right now.
That was Duke Tobin on the Bengals not being interested in trading Tee Higgins. And honestly, I agree with Duke Tobin 110%. If I am the Cincinnati Bengals, I am doing everything I possibly can to hold on to the great, and I don't throw around that word often, great Tee Higgins. You look at what Tee Higgins has been able to do since he's been in the NFL. So far in his career, the man has 215 receptions, 3,028 receiving yards, 19 touchdowns so far in the 3 years of his young career. When I think about the best number 2 receivers in the NFL, I believe that Tee Higgins should be at the top of that list. I don't think that there's a better number 2 receiver in the NFL. I love Jalen Waddle in Miami. I love Jalen Waddle. I think Jalen Waddle is a great receiver in that system in Miami. But given Tee Higgins' age and how young he is and how he complements Jamar Chase, I don't believe you're going to find a better second receiver in the NFL. Adam Thielen is in Minnesota with the Vikings. I love Adam Thielen, but I'm taking Tee Higgins over Adam Thielen. Gabriel Davis in Buffalo alongside Stephon Diggs. I love Gabe Davis, but Gabe Davis is not better than Tee Higgins. If I am Duke Tobin, if I am Zach Taylor, if I'm Mike Brown, I'm doing everything I possibly can to keep Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, and Tee Higgins together. And if I have to let go of Tyler Boyd, who I believe is going to be the odd man out, and I love Tyler Boyd because I believe in the AFC Championship game, once the Bengals lost Tyler Boyd, I believe that's when they were struggling to make plays in the passing game because the Chiefs defense, they doubled Jamar Chase and they doubled Tee Higgins. So if you double Higgins and you double Chase, Boyd is going to win his one-on-one matchup in the slot 9 times out of 10. So I thought them losing Tyler Boyd and his impact really hurt the Bengals in the AFC Championship game. But honestly, out of all the players on the Bengals offense, and I think they're loaded. In the backfield, you got Joe Mixon, you got P. Ryan. At receiver, you got Tyler Boyd, you got Jamar Chase, you got Tee Higgins. And then at tight end, you got Hayden Hurst. I think that Tee Higgins, honestly, his value is up there with Jamar Chase value. Seriously, that's how good I think Tee Higgins is. Now, again, I think Jamar Chase is the best receiver on the Bengals, but I don't think that Tee Higgins is far behind. And I think that if Tee Higgins was in Green Bay, if Tee Higgins was in Indianapolis with the Colts, if Tee Higgins was on a lot of other teams in the NFL, I think Tee Higgins would be a number 1 receiver on that particular team. That's how great I believe Tee Higgins is. I love Tee Higgins in Green Bay. Listen, I will never apologize for wanting the services of Tee Higgins. I talk to my cousin about this all the time. Let's just say the Packers bring back Aaron Rodgers. I would love Tee Higgins with Aaron Rodgers and Christian Watson and Romeo Doubs. I would love it. That's how great I believe Tee Higgins is. And then, the pain. A few weeks ago, there was reports out about how, and he even acknowledged this in an interview, Tee Higgins acknowledged that he thought he was going to Green Bay when he was drafted. He had prepared to be drafted by the Green Bay Packers, and they drafted Jordan Love instead of Tee Higgins. It's so painful to think about. Could you imagine Tee Higgins with Devontae Adams? Because Devontae was still in Green Bay at the time. Could you imagine him in Green Bay with Devontae? Oh my goodness. That 1-2 punch at receiver would be arguably the best in the NFL. Tee Higgins is the real deal. And again, I know Joe Burrow is going to get paid soon. I know Jamar Chase wants his money. But if there's a way where you can keep Tee Higgins with Joe Burrow and with Jamar Chase, I think the Cincinnati Bengals have to do everything that they possibly can to keep Tee Higgins on this roster. I believe that, honestly, he's untouchable if I'm the Bengals. There's no way in hell I'm trading Tee Higgins. No way in hell. We're going to have to figure this out. If I have to even if you have to sacrifice Joe Mixon or P. Ryan, I'm keeping Tee Higgins. Because we know in the NFL, you have to have elite talent at receiver to win. Look at the Super Bowl this year. The Chiefs won because they have Patrick Mahomes. So that's an outlier. But the Eagles, they got A.J. Brown. They got Devontae Smith. Look at the 49ers who made the NFC Championship game. They have Brandon Ayuk. They have Deebo Samuel. So if you want to be an elite football team, you have to have elite receivers. And the Bengals have that in Jamar Chase and Tee Higgins. So I'm doing everything I possibly can to keep Tee Higgins. I believe that he's untouchable. Seriously, he is untouchable. And I think that his value on this football team is significant. And if I'm the Bengals, I'm not going to let him go. I'm not going to let him go. I love Joey B. I think Joe Burrow is one of the best young quarterbacks in the NFL. I think Jamar Chase is a top 5 receiver in the NFL. And I think Tee Higgins could be easily a number 1 receiver on another team. If it wasn't for Jamar Chase being on the Bengals, I think Tee Higgins would be the number 1 receiver on their team. And he's different than Jamar Chase. Jamar Chase is great in the open field, and he's great with his speed. Tee Higgins is the opposite. He's not the fastest, but Tee Higgins can go up and catch the football at its highest point. He's a tremendous red zone threat in this Bengals offense. I love him as a red zone target because I think he can go up at his highest point and grab the football. That's something that Jamar Chase is not great at. He's decent at it, but Tee Higgins, that's his strength. Jamar Chase's strength is his speed, and he puts fear in opposing defenders with his speed. But Tee Higgins is strong, and he's a big body out there. He really, really is. He's a big body, and again, his ability to go up and catch the ball at its highest point is something that not all receivers can do. They all cannot do that. You look at Tee Higgins, he's 6'4", 219 pounds, played in Clemson. So he made some big plays even at the University of Clemson. I love him as a prospect, and I love him as a young receiver in the NFL. And if I'm the Bengals, I'm not letting him go. Even if I have to sacrifice even some guys on defense and Joe Mixon or Sam Piron, I am not letting go Tee Higgins. It's just not going to happen. Everybody go and follow Wise Guys on Twitter at WiseGuys_H. Also on Facebook, Wise Guys. And be sure to follow Wise Guys at Instagram at These Guys Know Sports.